All right. Please. I hope this is... Please tell me what's going on. This is for Ryan, Chapter 14 of Calling on Dragons, in which they trade stories. Who is this guy? I had it all figured out. I'm like, it's Rapunzel. It's totally Rapunzel. No, it's not. The red-haired man stared at the apparition in disbelief. Morwen didn't blame him. Killer looked nearly as unsteady as the laundry basket, which was still hovering just outside the window. What on earth is that? The man demanded. My friends, Morwen said, you'd better back up. There's not much room to spare coming through that window, and Killer's never done this before. Killer? The man backed up hastily. Good grief, it's blue. Oh, really? Said Scorn, her voice dripping sarcasm. We hadn't noticed. I don't think his wings will fit through the opening unless he folds them, Trouble said. I wonder how he'll manage. Killer flapped higher, then dove for the window, folding his wings at the last minute. His momentum wasn't quite enough to carry him through, and for an instant his front hooves flailed uselessly against air inside the tower while his back legs hung outside. Then he kicked, wiggled, and tumbled into the room, where he sprawled 6 inches above the floor, panting loudly. The sudden jerk tore Cimmerian loose, and she landed next to Killer with a thud. Ow, said Cimmerian. Morwen, are you all right? When the basket didn't come down again, I got worried. Everything is fine, Morwen said. Telemaine is even beginning to come out of the initial stages of back shock. Then what took you so long? Serene demanded. I was chatting with our hosts. Morwen turned expectantly to the red-haired man. Brandel, the red-haired man supplied. He still sounded sullen, but there was an undercurrent of interest, too. I suppose that since you're in, you could stay. He looked from Morwen to Killer to the cats to Cimmerian. But you're going to have to explain yourselves. In a minute, Morwen said. First, we have to tell Kazul what's been going on, unless you want a worried dragon tearing your tower apart. Without waiting for Brandel to answer, she leaned out the window and began shouting reassurances. Explaining to Kazul took some time, and after that they had to haul the laundry basket back inside. Once it was in, they discovered that Killer had kicked a hole in the side of his in his last separate lunge through the window. Oh boy, this put Brandel out of sorts again. I should throw you all back out the window immediately, he grumbled. You're nothing but a lot of vagabonds. That doesn't sound right, Killer said, climbing to his feet. Unless vagabonds is a word for a witch and a magician and the queen of the enchanted forest and the king of the dragons and the cats. And me. Is that what it means, Morwen? Not exactly. Brandel is just grouchy. Oh. Killer shook himself, which made his wings flop open. He had to flap them once to keep his balance, and then again to get them back in position. I thought having wings would be interesting, but they're just a big nuisance. What was that about queens and kings and magicians? Brandel asked Morwen. So, Morwen made Morwen made a round of formal introductions, which soothed everyone's feelings. Then, just when they were getting ready to sit down to talk, Telemaine stirred again, and Morwen had to quiet him. I thought you wanted him to wake up, Killer said. I do, but thrashing around won't help him recover, Morwen said. He needs to keep quiet. No problem, said Trouble. He stood up, stretched, strolled over to Telemaine, and draped himself down the center of the magician's chest. How long do you want him like this? Thank you. I don't even... I mean, there could be a magical thing, like there's some magic cats have or whatever, but I like that it's just like, oh, a cat sleeping on your chest? Nah, you'll stay asleep, because it's true. It's very soothing. Thank you, Trouble, Morwen said, feeling relieved. Not only would Trouble's efforts hasten Telemaine's recovery, but keeping Telemaine quiet would also keep Trouble from getting into trouble. Given a specific job, the cat was quite reliable. 2 or 3 more hours should do it, now that he's warm. Then we can wake him, feed him some broth, and put him to bed. I bet he won't want to go, said Scorn. 3 hours. Right. Trouble yawned, put his head down on his paws. I thought regular witches were supposed to have black cats, said Brandel, looking from Trouble to Scorn. Unless... Are you a fire witch, too? No, said Morwen, but I don't see why that should limit me to black cats. Brandel started to ask something else, then stopped, frowning. I'm sorry. I just ignored all the comments in that. Brandel started to ask something else, then stopped, frowning. No, I'll ask you about that later. Right now, you're here and you're all settled, and I want my explanation before something else happens. First, I'd like to know how you feel about wizards, Morwen said. She's testing the waters. I've never met one, Brandel replied, and I'm not sure I want to. They don't have a very good reputation. Good, said Cimmerian. It's like this. And she launched into the explanation. Brandel listened with interest, but when Cimmerian reached the end of her tale, he frowned. How did you get by all the invisible dusk-blooming choke vines? I thought gotten all the openings near the tower filled in. Kazul burned a path through them. Huh. Must be handy, traveling with a dragon. Sometimes, said Morwen. Other times, it's an inconvenience. You're only saying that because Kazul is nowhere nearby. Suddenly, Scorn's ears pricked up and her whiskers twitched forward. Well, well. What's this? Morwen glanced sideways to see what Scorn was watching so intently. On the top side of the staircase, a large, fluffy cat stood gazing at the newcomers. He was mostly black, with a white chin, white front paws, and a white tuft at the very end of his tail, and his expression was wary and disapproving. "So, you finally decided to come see what was going on, have you?" Brandel said to the cat. "Meow," said the cat. "We have visitors," Brandel said. "Morwen, Simmering Killer, this is my cat, Horatio." "Well, hello, handsome," said Scorn. Her tail lashed once each way, and she sat up and began washing her face with great unconcern. "He doesn't look that great to me," Trouble snarled. "Behave yourself," Morwen said sternly. "We're guests." Horatio eyed the group a moment longer, then came slowly forward. Halfway across the room, he stopped, studying Scorn with an intensity that matched hers. "Meow," he said at last. "Meow, meow. No, she won't." Trouble shifted uneasily, as if longing to jump up and pounce on this intruder. Then Morwen caught his eye, and he settled back into place on Telemine's chest, muttering under his breath. Scorn looked from Trouble to Horatio, made a show of considering. "You don't need me for anything right now, do you, Morwen?" "God!" "No," said Morwen. "Then I'll be happy to look around," Scorn said to Horatio. "See you later, folks." "This is the best plot twist so far." "Watch your step," Trouble growled. "You can't trust him." "I should hope not," said Scorn. "After all, he's a cat." Tail high, she sauntered over to Horatio. The two cats exchanged sniffs, and then Horatio led the way to the staircase, and they disappeared. "She's going to regret this," Trouble said. "So is he as soon as I—" Morwen caught his eye again, and he stopped short. "I don't expect to have to warn you twice," she said. All right. But you wait and see." "Quiet," said Morwen. "Brandel, we've told you what we're doing here. Now suppose you tell us what you're doing here." "Living," said Brandel. "Staying out of trouble. At least that's how it was supposed to work," he added sourly. "Of course," said Simmering, with considerably more patience than Morwen could have mustered. "But how did you come here in the first place? The middle of a swamp is an unusual place to find a fire witch." Brandel sighed. "It's a little complicated. I come from a family of fire witches. Both my parents are fire witches, and so are most of my aunts and uncles and cousins. My eldest sister is a fire witch, and my younger brother. Everyone, in fact, except my younger sister, Rachel." "That must have been difficult for her," Simmering said. "Being the only different one in the family is hard." "Oh, what she would know so well. That sentence isn't okay." "My parents thought the same thing," Brandel said. "So when Rachel was very small, Mother brought her to the sorceress who lived in this tower to be apprenticed." "The sorceress chose to live in a swamp?" Simmering said skeptically. "They like inaccessible places," Morwen said, "though I'll grant you this is a little extreme." "Go on, Brandel." "The sorceress agreed to take Rachel in and teach her magic, and once every 5 years or so we would come and visit." 5 years? Since there wasn't a door in the tower, the sorceress lowered a chair on a long rope and hauled us up to the window one at a time. Brandel shook his head. "The laundry basket is a lot safer. It's not so easy to fall out of." "In any case," does that mean someone did? I don't want to know. I'm just reading on. "In any case, the sorceress asked us to keep the arrangement a secret, and we tried, but that sort of thing always seems to get out somehow. Some of the rumors were pretty wild. One of the stories said my mother sold Rachel to a wicked witch in exchange for some vegetables." "I think I've heard that one," Simmering said. "Anyway, there wasn't much we could do. By the time Rachel was 16, all sorts of people were showing up in the swamp to rescue the beautiful princess from the wicked witch." Simmering nodded. "I know what that's like. When I was Kazul's princess, the knights and heroes made themselves a dreadful nuisance. You wouldn't believe how stubborn some of them could be." "Want to bet? They're still coming around, and half the time they won't listen when I say she isn't here any longer." Brandel looked down. "That's what I thought you were, at first, a group of heroes." "Sounds like a reasonable description to me," said Trouble. "Is your sister beautiful?" Morwen asked. Randall shrugged. "She's pretty enough, I suppose. For a while she was flattered by all the attention, but the constant interruptions just irritated the sorceress. Finally, she gave the tower to Rachel and moved somewhere else just to get away from it all." "I can't say I blame her," Simmering said, nodding. "I don't know," said Killer, who'd been listening with great interest. "It must have taken a lot of work to build a place like this. Couldn't she just have kept them away somehow?" "They're very persistent," said Simmering. "You have no idea. And besides, heroes weren't the only problem with this location," Brendel said, "just the main one." Killer snorted softly. "I still think about the tower," Morwen said to Brendel. "The sorceress gave it to your sister, and she lived here for a while until she couldn't stand having strangers stand outside and shout, 'Rachel, Rachel, send down the chair any longer.'" This whole thing is a setup for that joke. Send down the chair instead of let down your hair. I love this. Half the time they didn't even get her name right, so when Arona started making life difficult for me... Wait, what? Arona? What? Mormon stiffened. Hold on a minute. Who did you just say was making life difficult for you? Arona Vamist. Brundle's eyes narrowed and his fist clenched. He is the meanest, lowest, most obnoxious, narrow-minded, opinionated... With every word, Brandle's voice rose, until he was shouting at the top of his lungs. Then abruptly, his hair burst into flames. Oh my god. After a shocked instant, Morwen relaxed. Fire witches were supposed to be immune to fire, among their many other gifts, and she found this demonstration extremely interesting. Cimmerian, too, seemed more surprised than frightened, but Killer was not so sanguine. He reared back in surprise, forgot to allow for his wings, and almost overbalanced. To keep his footing, he had to flap several times, filling the room with wind from his wings. The flames brightened briefly, but then the breeze distracted Brandle from his angry tirade, and a moment later his hair went out. "That was interesting," said Trouble. "Yes, it was. Interesting isn't the half of it," said Mormon. That wouldn't by any chance have been Arona, Michaeli, or Greenogian Vamis you were railing at a moment ago, would it? That's the one, Brandle said, nodding vehemently. And if I ever get my hands on this sneaky little... Yes, of course. Mormon interrupted hastily, hoping to forestall another outburst. If talking about it won't upset you too much, would you mind telling me exactly how Arona, Michaeli, or Greenogian Vamis was making life difficult for you? Not just for me. That weasel has it in for the whole family. The ends of Brandle's hair began to glow like embers in a high wind. That is the coolest thing, by the way. I love it. With a visible effort, he controlled himself and went on. He's been going on about true magic and traditional forms for a long time. But nobody ever paid much attention. Then he petitioned the town council to outlaw all non-traditional magic, and somehow he got them to do it. And fire witches aren't on his traditional list, Morin said. Brandle nodded. He got us thrown out of our home, and there wasn't a thing we could do about it. Oh, well, now I definitely hate this guy. Nothing? Cimmerian raised an eyebrow. From what I've heard about fire witches, using our magic against him would only have made his arguments to the town council sound more reasonable, Brandle said. Cimmerian and Morwen just looked at him. All right, we tried. Brandle hit the arm of his chair with one fist, and little flames flickered in his hair. Somebody was helping the little creep. He has a really first-class protective spell, one the whole lot of us couldn't get a handle on. When we found out we couldn't get at him, the others went to visit my uncle in Oslet. I came here, hoping Rachel would know where the sorceress had gone. I thought maybe she'd help. Rachel didn't know, I take it, said Morwen. No, but she let me have the tower. She even warned me about all the knights and heroes before she left, but I didn't believe her. Brandle sighed. I do now. That's why I filled in the end of the sorcerer's walkway. What walkway? Said Cimmerian. The one lined with invisible dusk-blooming choke vines. Didn't you notice? We noticed the vines. We didn't notice a walkway. Just mud. Brandle shrugged. I don't think she got out much, and when she did, she usually flew. So you've been living here ever since you got thrown out of your hometown? Morwen asked. Brandle nodded. How long is that? About 4 months, I think. I lose track. Not a lot happens, except nights, and the days sort of blur together. I don't even know what's been happening outside the swamp. Arona Michaeliar, Greenogi, and Vamis seems to have decided to move on from fire witches to regular witches, Morwen said. As near as I can tell, he's trying to get everyone to wear pointy hats and cackle a lot. You watch out, Brandle said. He's up to something. I'm beginning to regret missing his call, Morwen said. You got a call from this Vamis person, said Cimmerian. What did he say? What did he want? The cats didn't say. Trouble let his eyelids close to almost slits. Nothing important. That reminds me, Cimmerian said. Brandle, have you got a magic mirror around that I can use? I promised Mendenbar I'd let him know how things were going every once in a while. I think the sorceress left an old one in the storage closet, Brandle said. I'll check. The fire witch disappeared down the staircase. Morwen and Cimmerian looked at each other. This is not going well, Cimmerian said. I wouldn't say that, Morwen replied. We've somewhere dry to spend the night under the circumstances. That's just it. The circumstances. We're goodness knows how many leagues from where we ought to be. Telemain's hurt, and we still don't have any idea where Mendenbar's sword is. And we wasted a whole day. Any minute now, and that sword may start leaking magic and... Oh boy. Oh, I'm almost at 50 minutes. Okay, I don't have much left, but I'll make another video and keep reading.